I was just trying to remind myself.
You're trying to remind yourself of the deaths of teens?
I like it when teens die.
I mean, same, when they deserve it.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 6 of Holidaze.
And they usually do.
Oh man. Alright, is that how we're starting this?
It can be now.
I feel like YouTube algorithm doesn't like if you say I like it when teens die as the first 5 seconds of your
No, YouTube
video.
algorithm doesn't like if you just cuss in like the first
Well, we do
30
that a
seconds.
lot.
Yeah, but if we do it in a 30-second time frame, then it's a problem. But otherwise, they don't care what tit stick ass we say.
That's true.
So, now that we can legally swear by YouTube recommendations, we hope that y'all are having a wonderful summer. Better than these theater kids did.
It's our last week of summer.
Yeah. Thank God.
It's the final... Today is the final day of summer. The day this recording comes out, it is the final day of summer of 2022. And we're going to be moving away from it and into something else. But for now, we've been singing and dancing for... We have not stopped dancing for the last, 2 weeks.
Yeah. There is a story about that, actually. There is a girl. I don't remember her name, but it was like a Russian, probably, or German folktale about a girl who had a cursed pair of shoes, and she couldn't stop dancing. And then she died.
Was this, Was this captured on film? Was this, Has that ever been made into something? Because I feel like I know that story from watching it somewhere.
It was mentioned... there was a weapon in Bayonetta, actually.
Oh, that might be it.
But I think it was supposed to be like a Black Swan type related thing or a Swan Lake type thing.
Well, speaking of music and dance and theater mixed with a little tinge of horror, what do we have this week? What did you put me through?
A good time.
It was good.
It was a good time. I will real quickly say it was Hans Christian Andersen. It's a Dutch or Danish fairy tale, rather, called The Red Shoes. But yeah, so terrifying story as it is. But yeah. So this time around, we watched Stage Fright. Stage Fright is a little Canadian film from 2014 about a bunch of kids at a summer theater camp where it turns out there's a serial killer slasher on the loose. This movie's okay.
This movie's alright.
Just out the gate. It's okay.
I don't want to get too into the nitty-gritty of it. I don't want to get into my critique of things just yet, out the gate. So I'll hold off on that for a little bit. But I went into this movie not really knowing what to expect from a horror comedy starring Meatloaf from the year 2014. But
Meatloaf is our big name.
All things said and done, it was a pretty fun time. It was the songs themselves were fun. Meatloaf himself is really good in his role as sort of this shitty, he's down on his luck ex-theater producer because he's now running a summer camp for musical theater kids and has been for 10 years, but they haven't been seeing rough times. And he does a really good job of portraying this on his last legs, desperate for a break kind of guy.
I've never been to a theater camp or music camp for my own volition. I did help volunteer with my mom years ago at a band camp, actually, though.
Oh, buddy.
Not sponsored.
Yeah.
But it was interesting and just kind of that it feels like the kind of thing of, yes, you see this in movies of we've got our wooden buildings and our big open floor plans and stuff like that, and there's cabins and woods and forestry and a lake and stuff like that, and you're kind of oh, this is real. Like,
people actually do this.
People actually do this. People go to these things. Like,
it feels like you only see them in movies, cartoons, just media in general. The supposed going away to the sort of woods lake area.
This is made up until it isn't.
Yeah.
And we admittedly were just there, funnily enough, helping with food service. And it wasn't too bad. It was a chill experience. I remember not being a big summer camp person as a kid.
I did summer camp until, like, I might have been in, like, the 6th or 7th grade.
Mm-hmm.
There was, like, one that I would go to, like, every year, and I don't know, I liked it. It was very simple. Yeah. We watched The Sandlot a lot.
that sounds about right for that time, yeah.
It was just a fun time, bunch of different activities, and then I was allowed to stay home alone during the summer, and
yeah, see, I think
became an internet fiend.
Wow, there we go.
Yeah.
I think my side of it was also, I didn't like, as a small child, being away from my family so long. I got, like, homesick real easy as a kid.
Yeah.
So I just didn't really like going out to things that would keep me away from home for a long time.
I feel that. I was about the same way. I didn't like being, like, away for any amount of time.
Yeah. I think the closest thing was when I was young, there was a country club that had, like, some swimming pool stuff going, and they had nice little activities where it was, like, crafting and making snacks and obviously swimming. And, like, that was always a good time, but it wasn't a regular thing that I did either. So I've just never gotten the appeal of summer camps or, like, these kind of activity camps, I guess I would say, like a band camp or a theater camp. But, you know, power to them.
Yeah.
Unless you're getting murdered.
You probably shouldn't get murdered when you go to camp, but it seems to happen a lot, because I can think of at least 3 different times murder has happened at a summer camp. Yeah. So be careful out there.
They kill people at these things.
Just be careful out there, y'all. But before we get to that, like we said, Stage Fright moved from 2014. We don't get to the summer camp right away. We start off. We sort of start with a fake out, because the movie hones in on the man in the streets walking up or walking down it, and then to the audience you see another man dressed in black with a very basic white mask. We'll just go ahead and call it very Party City-ass mask. Very Phantom of the Opera. Knockoff Phantom of the Opera. And this phantom stabs the man walking, flees, and he is found by a woman who caresses him and cries out and starts singing.
Breaks into song.
They've been in a theater full of people on opening night of a musical called The Haunting of the Opera.
Wow. Wonder what that could be.
The woman singing is Broadway diva, Kylie Swanson. She is very beautiful. She has amazing vocal talent, and the audience loves her.
I believe she was played by Minnie Driver, was her name, I think?
Yes, Minnie Driver.
Who was also in Phantom of the Opera, the movie production with, I believe it was Gerard Butler and Sarah Brightman.
With Gerard Way?
Look, we love and support that royal, but not yet. If this movie had Meatloaf and Gerard Way, I think it would have been like an epic.
We'd have an entire franchise.
All musical theater. Yes, 100%.
They would have brought him back for more movies.
Yeah,
both of them. But yes, we have Kylie Swanson. She is performing her heart out because it is opening night, and she is trying to impress. And in the wings are her 2 twin children, Camilla and Buddy.
That has to be. It has to be a nickname.
But we don't. But we never get any other name but Buddy. Yeah. And everyone calls him just Buddy. It's not like. There's nothing Buddy can be short for, right? I mean, like, there's Bud. What is there a longer form of Bud than just Buddy? Budiferous?
What?
Budokai?
I mean, Bud is a name, technically.
But even every promotional thing for this labels him as Buddy Swanson. So, I mean, that is probably his God-given name. Just, it is what it is. This kid...
His mom gave him that one, not God. That
God would
look down at that and be like,
God would be way
ooh.
nicer. We have these two young children. Probably we never actually get an age for them. We never get an age for any of these characters. But you would have to assume that they are at least, I'm gonna guess, 9 years old here, 8 or 9, and then after events happen, we do see them older.
Yes, we have a 10-year time skip.
Camilla is very taken with her mom and with her mom's performance, and sort of sees herself as wanting to be like her mom and be a Broadway performer and singer and star. Buddy is very nonplussed. He is not someone who cares for any of this. He's neutral face, rolling his eyes, that kind of a character. And that sort of sets up their exact personalities from here until the end. Getting introduced not too long after that, after the show is over, all the Swansons are in Kylie's dressing room, and in comes the man himself, Meatloaf. I'll be honest, it wasn't until me just looking this up that I had only referred to him as Meatloaf the entire movie and just blocked out what his actual name was. But this is this is the producer. I don't know. He's the producer of the show. I don't know if he's like Kylie's agent or anything like that. But
according to the Wikipedia, it's implied that he's also her lover.
His name is Roger McCall, played by Meatloaf.
Yeah.
Credited as Meatloaf a Day in this. And he is a very... He's very... I don't want to say stern. He's just sort of a blank slate at the moment. He comes in and he seems to tell Kylie that people loved her, and in particular, a man by the name of Lawrence loved her, and she's very excited to know that, and is very excited to be getting such well received praise from this performance tonight.
Yeah.
The kids are sort of ushered off, and this is where we also see Kylie and Roger have like a very chummy, close relationship moment. You can definitely tell that there is something going on between the two of them. And while Camilla sneaks off to the stage to sort of reenact and dream of herself in her mom's position, we have Kylie alone in a dressing room. And things don't go well from there.
Appears.
We first see the Phantom, the same one from in the production, appear watching Camilla on stage. And then the Phantom appears in Kylie's dressing room behind her. And at first, Kylie's teasing, assuming she knows who this man is. It must be her lover. Knowing that telling him that he'll get in trouble for messing with the costumes. And while the man feels her up a bit, really going for it.
Yeah. They break the rule of horror movies of don't have sex, don't get naked.
She does get a little naked. Not naked, but she does get down to her lingerie.
Not fully. Yeah.
I didn't count, but this Phantom pulls a knife out and proceeds to stab Kylie so many times. Just...
I want to say like 10, at least.
I would have said like 17.
Mm-hmm.
We get our first kill of the movie of Kylie Swanson killed by this blank-faced Phantom.
Yeah. And
we have it's maybe the first comedic part of the movie where they do the first their work of intertwining the horror and the comedy by having this gruesome murder be intercut with the joyful dancing and singing of young Camilla on the stage, just like twirling around. And then we cut back to her mom being stabbed repeatedly, back to the dancing, back to the stabbing, and it with a knife being planted directly into the mouth of Kylie, where she falls dead on the ground. She's probably was dead before the stabbing in the mouth, but she is now dead on the ground.
I sure hope so.
And then we cut. It was all a dream. 10 years later, we have Camilla waking up in bed after having what we would be led to assume is a reoccurring nightmare for her.
Girl has trauma.
Girl has mad trauma. I can't imagine what must have happened. We never see what happens, like the discovery of the body, but
there's almost a weird side to it to consider of like, was the murder as bad as that kind of thing, or was she just imagining it to be that way since she wasn't there, is the implication.
Yeah, but you'd have to imagine that I could only imagine that she or someone else stumbled upon the body. She probably saw the body at some point.
Mm-hmm. And
maybe they didn't get stabbed, and maybe your child brain conjures up things and makes them way worse than they are. But it is a pretty, I'd imagine, traumatizing experience seeing your mother's brutalized body.
She's 9. She'll get over it.
Yeah, 10 years later, we can only assume these characters are 18 or 19.
Yeah. They kind of have to be for what happens.
They kind of have to be because it's weird otherwise, and it's still weird even whenever stuff does happen in this.
Mm-hmm.
We get hard introduced to the concept of the movie.
Oh boy, do we. Our opening number for this movie, if I can find my Spotify again, because this is on Spotify, so you can go check that out. Where We Belong, I believe, is the opening number, where we have all of the theater kids arriving at what is called Center Stage, which is the theater camp that I'm also just going to say Meatloaf is running.
We're going to call it Meatloaf. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're going to call it
more
Meatloaf.
Fun that
it's
way.
Fine. Rest in peace, King.
Rest in peace.
So we have all these theater kids who show up of varying ages also.
Yeah, the youngest one seems like 5 years old. Like 5 or 6. Like,
you have like young kids here, like 5, 7 range kind of thing, but you also have like teenagers or like older teenagers even. Yeah, like maybe like 18, 19, like all here for this theater
I would
camp.
argue the oldest one has to be like 20 or 21.
Yeah.
There's a character that like looks like, I can't imagine him being 19. Like he would have to be like 20 or something in his 20s.
Yeah. And so they go ahead and burst into song, talking about how they're here to learn about lighting and stage direction and acting and singing and dancing and everything else. And it is all a wonderful thing to get away from home, from bullies, from family, to be gay.
Aww.
But not in that way.
But not in that way.
No. As our one of our intended to be male leads of our show is singing about, before being cut off by one who is actually gay and proceeds to tell us about that too. So we have a diverse cast of characters here.
Well,
none of them really matter.
It was I didn't comb over this movie with a fine-tooth comb or anything like that. But I don't know if there are any people of color in this movie.
If they are like
they definitely are none with speaking lines.
When I say diverse, I mean more in
there are queer people in this movie.
There are queer people. There are all kinds of ranges of age, body type, etc. There is a lot of queerness going on here. Diversity by race, not so much.
It is
So
extremely. They are extremely. Yeah.
To be fair, I don't know what POC would want to go to this
They're
camp.
probably smarter
This one
than to do that. I mean, but here's the thing: is that this is a place, we are told, where these people can feel themselves. They're not being abused or bullied by teachers or like bullies or parents. They are able to be free and be themselves in whatever way they want to be. And what they want to be is
gay
musical theater kids.
But also I would stretch to say sometimes that a safe space for white folks is not the same as a safe space for people of color.
Yeah, that's fair.
But moving on from that, they are all just, they're happy to be here. They're happy to perform. We go back to Camilla, who is singing to herself about how she would like to be a part of the theater, like her mother. It feels like it's her connection to her.
Yeah.
Buddy is like, no, that's stupid. We don't need to live here forever, kind of thing.
We don't need to be part of this.
Yeah.
Like, I think Buddy even calls them, like, freaks. Like, we do not need to be, like these freaks or something like that. Because 10 years later, after their mom's death, Meatloaf has taken in Camilla and Buddy, and at some point, this center stage became a thing, and the twins work in the kitchen, and I guess sort of like as like helping around the camp, which is sort of, one, it's weird because I guess their father wasn't in the picture, or would never be in the picture, or I guess they don't even have any other family in the picture.
Yeah, they just get taken in.
Get taken in by
Meatloaf,
the producer.
Yeah.
By Meatloaf, who had a close connection with Kylie, but otherwise we'd only understand of as them like being maybe lovers and having some like a friendship or something like that. Like they're close, but they're close enough for him to be the legal guardian now of these two characters, of these two people. So that's one thing. And the other is, do they just live at the camp always?
See, that was my concern, because it seems that Buddy kind of expresses that in how... I think he does straight up say, like, we can't live here forever, or I don't want to live here forever.
Do they just... Yeah, but do they just, like... I can only imagine that maybe they go to school nearby when it's not summer, and then just like live there otherwise. But
yeah,
I mean, that'd be pretty cool just to like live at a summer camp with just you and your sister and your not dad and the creepy guy that works as like janitorial staff.
Janitor who just is intentionally looking like the most ominous motherfucker ever.
It's a very strange situation for the two of them that has led to Camilla is very still deeply, as we said, traumatized by her mother's death. Buddy still has this like,
I think he says he wants to like open a restaurant or something like that. I guess he took to the cooking side of things.
Buddy has this like air to him where he just doesn't care. Like he doesn't care about the musical stuff. He doesn't care about being here. All he cares about is taking his sister and leaving. Like he doesn't want to be a part of this.
Right.
And it's a very nice thing to have a character that is just not bought into this musical nonsense. Like he is the one character we don't see take part in songs and whatnot during any of these scenes. Like Camilla will happily jump in and become one with like the choir, but Buddy's just like rolling his eyes.
He's done.
Keep doing his job, while Camilla has to sing into the fridge where she keeps a signed autograph of her mother.
Girl, that's gotta cause some like water damage at some point.
I don't know, man. yeah, we are pretty much reintroduced to these characters. Camilla is still has some issues. Buddy has issues, but maybe in a different way. Meatloaf is a failing businessman at this point, and though we don't get their names immediately, we do get introduced to some other key characters. Some of them being Artie, who is the director of the upcoming musical of the summer show. We have Sam, who was the I'm gay, but not in that way character.
Yeah.
And David, who is the I'm gay, but
I'm
in that way.
Gay. Yeah.
But I'm actually gay. Otherwise, we have, like, Liz, who is this red-haired, like, kind of pretty, kind of, like...
stuck up, like...
she's talented, stuck-up character.
I'm the main character in this show.
Yeah. We also have Joel, who is a stagehand. He is the other character who is never really shown taking part in, like, the musical aspect of the movie. He's more so... It's a very interesting thing about this character, in that he is a character that is very... He sees this entire situation as him being in a horror movie.
Yeah.
And doesn't really ever do anything with the musical genre of the movie.
He does sing on his own while other people are kind of doing their numbers, but he himself doesn't, like, go out for the musical or anything. He's just there to, like, do the lights
be in the
and
wings.
things.
Yeah.
He's a tech guy, and that's good. But Joel is obsessed with Camilla.
Obsessed.
Like, he just sits there and stares at her, like, when she's not looking, follows her around. He essentially, he is also apparently in charge of sign-ups for auditions, and Camilla wants to audition, but staff, all 3 of them, I guess, including the janitor, are not allowed to participate in the shows. And he allows her to, or he lets her sign up.
He lets her have the chance, and she's so awkward about it. It's like and maybe she has it, maybe she doesn't. Okay, I'm gonna give Camilla's actress, Ally McDonald, a lot of props here, because she portrays this character so well as this awkward, she's not unsociable because she doesn't like people. She just doesn't seem like she's ever had much interaction with people before.
Yeah.
She's very stuck in her own head. She's very in her dreams about, like, what she wants. She sees her goal, and her goal is to be like her mother in this big Broadway production someday, and she wants it so bad. But she herself is just, like, messy, almost unwashed looking hair, some, like, matted hair.
Yeah, she kind of just does have her head up in the clouds a lot, and, like, just
she has a very homely look to her.
What it reminds me of is almost, I feel like if she was criticized for this role in some way, of, like, maybe if people didn't think that she was that good of an actor, I would go against that in the same way that, like, Kristen Stewart in Twilight, where people were like, why is she acting like that? And it's like, Kristen Stewart said, that's the character. That is why I am acting like this, because that's what she is.
I think I can't speak on Ally McDonald's, like, literally anything else. This is the first thing I've ever seen her in. But from my understanding of this character, of Camilla Swanson, she nails it in such a way that it's like, I totally understand what this character is and, like, why this character is the way she is. She's just this weird bundle of nerves and anxiety, and when she's allowed to be confident, she acts confidently awkwardly because she's never been in a situation where she has been allowed to be confident before.
It feels like someone who's just learned like learning how to be human, or has learned
Exactly.
what people do but has never practiced it herself. And whether or not that is just from she's been living at a summer camp for the past 10 years of her life kind of thing, and is only really... Maybe they're homeschooled, for all we know.
Maybe, but I can't imagine, like, Meatloaf is going to be doing that for them.
But the idea that this largest amounts of social interactions that she could be having is for these, like, 1 to 2 month periods of summer camp going on. So yeah, like, she doesn't people very well, and she portrays that, like, phenomenally.
She has been someone who has been watching these kids sing, dance, and act for, I can only imagine, a number of years.
At least 10, yeah.
Lived at this camp. And so she has always wanted to do this, and because the show that they were putting on for the summer just so happens to be The Haunting of the Opera, the production that her mother opened and died in, opened and closed, very one-night act, she wants to take that role. She wants to do her mother's role because that is her dream. And she does get on the stage and she starts singing, and she wows the director. She wows the director, and she wows the gay vice manager, stage manager, David. And everything seems to be on the up and ups, but Meatloaf does stumble upon it.
He shows up because Liz snitches.
Yes, Liz is such a snitch because she gets the feeling that Camilla is going to steal her role, which is the main role, from her. And because she's a stupid bitch who has never not gotten what she wanted, she snitches to Dad about it.
Yeah.
What a... Sharpay would break this girl's legs.
Oh, in 100. Like, yeah. She'd take her down instantly. Like, you have no idea who Sharpay Evans is, girl. But there is a note, though, about this performance. About this show.
Yes. Oh, man.
In that, yeah, it had to come up.
Racism!
That's why we couldn't have non-white people at this camp. They decide to reimagine. There was a funny thing recently, actually, where I had a conversation with someone who I think as we were, like, scrolling through, like, Netflix movies, or they might have had She's the Man on there.
Yeah, the famous Amanda Bynes movie. Yeah, I've seen that so many times.
And how it was an modern day interpretation of Twelfth Night by Shakespeare. Mm-hmm. And so that is a good thing, is when it's like, we're going to take an adaptation of this for a different audience and make it into our own thing. And it works. It's fun.
The most popular one I could think of is the Romeo Juliet. I think it's Romeo plus Juliet with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yes.
Like, that is a fantastic adaptation.
They take it and modernize it and make it into something new, but while still keeping the spirit of the original. These kids, though, decide to turn what would be an Italian setting for an opera and make it into Japanese kabuki theme. So they decide we're going with a Japanese setting, and everyone's going to have, like, the white face paint, the kabuki masks, and the styles and fashions of that. But the entire thing is still in English, performing this opera kind of thing. Like, there's no intent to change any of the setting besides how it looks, character names, or anything like that. So they literally just, like, paste over this musical with Japanese font. Is the best way I could put this.
It's so on the nose that, like, okay, is the movie racist? No, because obviously this is meant to be. Obviously, This is a joke. This is a
satire.
Big
it's definitely a satire
on people would do this. People will do this in life, like, especially a bunch of kids being given the control over, like, some stupid theater director kid who's got this in his, like, this idea in his head that I'm going to I'm going to groundbreakingly change the show in a way that no one else has done before. And so they just do this. And it's just such a choice that it's so bad.
It's so cringe.
Like, bravo. Like, you got me. They had me, like, covering my eyes, and it wasn't even during any of the murder parts.
Yes. The secondhand embarrassment hit me so hard at parts of this movie.
During the final act of this movie. I was just like, I could not look at the screen. Oh, man. But that's what's going on. We have them putting on this kabuki haunting of the opera. And though Meatloaf is initially like, no, Camilla, you cannot do this because you are a staff, he does get convinced because the director already is like, hey, we had a deal. This is my show. What I say goes, and convinces Meatloaf to go through with it.
This is the only good thing he does. The
only good thing Artie does in this movie, because as we are going to immediately find out, he is the shittiest character in maybe the entire film.
He is the casting couch director who intends to get the leading lady essentially to sleep with him as a promise to give her the part. And
he also has given himself the lead role, the leading man role, while giving. As the casting goes, we find out that yes, Camilla did get the leading lady role of Sophia, but so did Liz, and so they are sort of in a rivalry over who will get to play this role on which night. Because the night that matters the most is opening night, where there will supposedly be a very famous Hollywood producer or a Broadway producer.
Broadway, like, talent scouts were being invited to this show.
The big names are coming on opening night, so who cares about what other nights are? Sam, who is this sort of... He's got very fluffy hair in the style of, like, an 80s...
Yeah, he looks like an 80s male lead. Like, he's got, like, the flowy kind of mane look.
You could pick this guy Back from the Future or something like that.
The sweater vest and button down, like, very preppy kind of look.
He's handsome, he's quite the ladies' man.
Yeah.
And he's playing the role of the Phantom. As we said, Artie, the director, is giving himself the role of Alfonso, who is the the leading man starring opposite Sophia, and there are no other characters in the show that matter.
No,
those are the only named characters in the entire show. And so we get immediately we get a montage of counting down the days till opening night, and the big problem we have here is that that Camilla and Liz are fighting over the role of Sophia. Yeah. And how do they do this? By already getting them to perform sexual favors for him.
Yeah. He is... The closer that they are willing to be with him physically, the more he leans towards one or the other.
Kissing or feeling each other up or... Yeah. Like, etc., etc. It goes to a distance, but as far as we know with Camilla, it does not go all the way. And Artie is just immediately just shown as like this shithead who's willing to take advantage of these two, as we can only believe, 18-year-old girls, while he himself looks to be at least 20 or 21.
Yeah.
Just so he can get sexual favors from it and string them along for who will have the opening night role. It's really gross to watch, and they do a good job at setting them up as being a just unlikable character.
Yes.
So, again, bravo. This movie knows what it's doing when it comes to portraying these characters, and it does it well. That doesn't mean I really like seeing it happen on screen.
No.
But, yeah, we get this... We just get this montage of, like, the days counting down with all of this happening in the background. And we also just get Joel being really weird about, and this is where Joel gets really weird with Camilla, because he's, again, got such a thing for her that he's watching her from the catwalk and he's looking at her behind the stage, like, never, like, he's like peeping on Artie and Camilla, like, in the dressing room with each other, and it's just putting him in this, like, really stalkery light.
Yeah.
And what they're doing, obviously, because we have to be reminded that this is a horror movie, is setting him up. They're wink wink nudge nudging him as what a future character will be. But really, it just makes him strange because he doesn't exist as a character except to be this.
Yeah. And he also just kind of isn't around besides that.
Like, we never get anything else for this character. He's just sort of Camilla's, like, the person who longs for Camilla. Like, that's it. He doesn't know this girl besides maybe seeing her around the camp before, as far as we know. They barely talk or interact. Camilla never shows any, like, positive interaction with him, really. Yeah. Like, I can't imagine, besides the time she signed up for the show, that she even really ever talks to him.
It feels like what you would have in a horror movie as the setup for this is her romantic option. Because the actor himself and how he's portrayed in this role, he's not a bad-looking guy.
No. He, as I made the joke, he kind of looks like Phil of the future.
Yeah.
Phil from Phil of the future.
Yeah. And so he's like, he's an alright looking guy who would start to be given these interactions with her, but then just doesn't. And that's about it. Like, he's there, and then he's gone for a majority of the movie otherwise. He just doesn't do anything.
Yeah, he just sort of... He legit just disappears and then reappears to, like, talk to Camilla, and then immediately leaves. He doesn't have any other interaction with anyone else. He just barely exists in this movie. He's extremely just, like... I think this movie has very one-note characters that aren't... Pretty much anyone that isn't, like, Camilla or Meatloaf even are, like, very one-note. They don't really have, like, all that many sides to them.
Yeah.
And, I mean, obviously it's a horror comedy, and it's not like these characters aren't...
We're not expecting a masterpiece, but we would like something.
I think they could have done way more with some of these characters, is all I'm saying. But during the montage, we pretty much get more winks at the camera, because they do make a bunch of references to other horror movies. We get a Leatherface reference where a kid is, like, holding a buzzsaw in the air and doing, like, the dance.
He's wearing the same outfit, even.
Yeah, the apron and whatnot.
Yeah.
We get a wig mannequin head that gets pinned with a bunch of needles to look like Pinhead from Hellraiser. We get... I could have sworn there was another one.
It's just generally just nods at these other horror classics. I'm gonna be a little mean in some regards, though, because as a friend of mine has put it before, if you're going to make references to other movies, don't make me want to watch that movie instead.
Yeah.
And, like, not that it did feel like that, but it's just kind of like, hey, look at all these other horror movies that, like, not even fully referencing, because they don't even come up in the story. It's more like an Easter egg kind of thing.
They do set up, like, a few Chekhov's guns of sorts here. Like, during this montage, we see a few items be presented to the camera very obviously as things that will return later as murder weapons. But otherwise, this montage doesn't really serve much outside of, like, just showing that pretty much the movie needed to get to opening night, and we were 24 days away from it. And instead we had to condense character interactions because we had to have Artie and Camilla and Liz have their weird triangle thing happen. We had to set Joel up in more creepy light. And we had to make sure we hammered in the plot beat of the show must go on no matter what. And I don't know, the montage itself is just kind of boring. Besides the fun haha references, you don't really get anything.
It is just the references and kind of showing off Liz and Camilla singing, sort of against and with each other, depending on how the scene is set, with these little moments interspersed of, again, just Artie being a creep. Until it is the day before opening, they're doing a final rehearsal, and they're not even doing a dress rehearsal. No, God.
They're all in just regular ass clothes. They haven't. What are you doing?
This production was doomed before the killer showed up.
It is the day before. Y'all should be doing this the entire week before you go on for
awful.
The night that this is going to be shown to Broadway producers. Are you kidding me? Amateur hour.
You deserve to get murdered at this rate.
Oh my God. Anyways, Camilla's role as Sophia is not locked in. Or she has the role, but she has not been locked into opening night yet.
No.
So she's mustered up the courage. She's going to let Artie go all the way. And
dun, dun, dun.
They start getting into things in the dressing room.
It's heavy petting.
It's a lot of heavy petting. She does get down to she does take her top off, and I think she gets down to almost sort of naked.
My cursed internet brain going immediately to my immortal.
Oh,
I even took off my bra.
Don't do that to me right now. We'll cover that later in another episode. Whatever holiday my immortal encompasses.
Mm.
But while Artie is obviously ready to go all the way, Camilla stops him. She's like, I don't want to do this. Would you be mad if I just go back to my bunk? And he hits her with would you be mad if I gave the opening night to Liz? And Camilla does the right thing. She storms out of there and she calls him an asshole.
Yeah.
And she dips. And honestly, thank God. I'm glad Camilla dipped all the way out of there because she does not need that. She does not need to stoop so low to have this role. Come on, dude. Have some self-respect. I'm glad that you have a little bit, but we need to work on you. We need to work on your shit, girl.
It is again that thing of she plays this well of being this very awkward person who doesn't fully get a lot of these social interactions, but she's not ignorant to what is happening. She's very aware that, he wants to be he wants to sleep with me to give me the part kind of thing. And she's weirded out by it, but she kind of gets it at the same time. And she's like, okay, I guess this is what I might have to do for this. But she also doesn't keep to that. She is just kind of no, yeah. I'm not gonna do this, actually. I do want this part in the show and to, play this role that my mother did. But not at this cost. No, I'm good.
And so we have Artie left alone in the theater. And as he's leaving, he hears something. A voice calling, Artie. And unlike any rational person who would find themselves in a very creepy situation such as that, he goes just leaving.
Yeah. To his defense, this is a camp full of theater kids who would be extra.
That is true, but I'm just saying,
it's still weird.
I'm just saying, the scene that follows this, there is an opportunity for him to immediately go.
Yeah,
and he does not immediately take it.
No.
He wanders out onto the main stage where there is a single light stand with a exposed light bulb just flickering.
I think that's actually also a theater thing, but I couldn't remember.
I don't know that.
What the
I'm pretty sure it is too.
It.
I don't know if there's like a term for what this is, but as he approaches it slowly, a stage light falls and nearly crushes him. It nearly hits him. He jumps out of the way in time, and as he does, a few more start falling down. Until finally, one of them does not hit him exactly, but has its hook embed itself through his foot into the stage, where he is now screaming. He is, like a little baby, he is screaming bloody murder, as he is approached by a figure.
It's the Phantom.
It's the Phantom.
Sorry, that's trademarked. It's the opera ghost.
It's the opera ghost, done up in kabuki style. He has the white mask still, but there's also like Japanese themed like.
It kind of looks like the Crow.
It kind of looks like
Kiss.
The Crow. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's I don't want to be mistaken about what the terminology is. I want to say it was like, hold on. It's like Oda Nobunaga like style, like samurai-esque.
Yeah.
Like he's got like a top knot and like some sideburns and like a little bit of a mustache. He just has like this like kabuki style to him, as just like a play on just like the normal white mask. And this figure approaches and starts pushing, or like starts taunting and like scaring Artie. And Artie is like desperately trying to pull this hook out of his foot and is like being pushed back until finally he is pushed so hard that his foot rips in half.
Yeah.
Like his foot just completely comes out.
The implication is, that hook went in deep enough that it just like severed his foot essentially.
I guess it goes through his shoe, but it looks like it goes like perfectly down like in the middle of his foot. And I mean, hey, that good severing, like that thing.
Yeah.
Perfect cut too. Like, oh my god.
Who could be so good with lights?
Who could be so good with lights? I don't know. Artie, meanwhile, is again screaming. He's fallen over. He sees his salvation, a box labeled swords, where they keep all the prop swords. And so he starts crawling his way over there. Oh, he's gonna make it. He finally gets it open. He goes for a sword. And the Phantom just... Sorry, the opera ghost. I can't say the Phantom legally. The opera ghost just walks over there and like pulls Artie away, but not before shutting the trunk,
slams
severing
the
his
lid
fingers,
close, breaking all of his fingers off,
like
in the thing.
Like,
how
bro,
did they not find that later?
Well, as we're about to get into it a little bit, this is not it for Artie either. Artie gets dragged.
No.
And where the light bulb is. And gets manhandled to opening his mouth and being force-fed the light bulb into his mouth, where the opera ghost then clicks the light on, finally electrocuting and killing Artie for good.
Another fun fact, you can fit a light bulb in your mouth, but you cannot get it out without breaking it.
I feel like that's like you can fit your fist in your mouth, but you can't get it out sort of thing.
It's just how we work, apparently. It's a weird thing. But yeah, you just can't do that.
I gotta go find a light bulb real quick.
Oh, no.
I gotta try this.
But Artie's marked.
That's our second kill of the movie.
Yeah.
We're about like 30 minutes in at this point. And the Phantom, meanwhile, is like playing it up. Like, I gotta stop saying the Phantom. I'm gonna call him what he is actually called in the movie. He is the metal killer.
Yes,
because
he does metal music.
As we haven't mentioned it, but as we get more from here on out, we see slight occasions where this figure in this wardrobe is seen somewhere in a basement where all the campers like photographs, like their headshots are like posted on a wall, and he's like, I hate you, I hate what you do, this is awful, and then he pulls out a guitar and starts wailing on it.
He's just riffing, he's having a great time, and
he's got like this very Jack Black Tenacious D vocal range to him, in so much as I had to like check to make sure that it wasn't Jack Black, and sadly it's not, but that would have been very fun if it was also Jack Black in this movie providing the voice of the metal killer. But
Jack Black, Gerard Way, musical, like, come on. We're
please,
giving
God,
this to you, Hollywood.
Please, God. It's just this, like, extremely brutal killing of this kid, who, granted, did deserve it.
He had it coming.
He did have it coming. Like, if you're going to be a sexual predator, you do deserve to have a light bulb put in your mouth and then electrocuted to death.
100%.
But it's not a very pleasant thing for a bunch of other kids to stumble on. And while we're never shown who stumbles on it exactly, we are told that Cabin 8 found him there on the stage, just left there, in a number of pieces, and everyone's freaking out.
Understandably.
And that's understandable. Someone did just get murdered, and for all you know, one of you did it. Yeah. Or there is a murderer somewhere. Jason is at the camp and he is ready to mingle. But, like...
the show must go on.
But that's the thing. The show must go on because Meatloaf needs this show to happen.
Yeah.
This is his last chance. The camp is bankrupt. They are so close to, like, being financially forfeit.
They've got mortgage payments, they've got late fees, all of that thing.
This is it. If big producer Victor Brady doesn't show up on opening night, which he has apparently said he is going to, they don't make money, they don't have the promise of money, they don't get anywhere, they're done. That's it. This is over. And so Meatloaf does what he does best and gaslights the fuck out of these kids.
Honestly impressive.
We get a scene of Camilla and Buddy on the pier, and they're rational. They are rational characters in a horror movie.
Yeah.
Where they're like, hey, that shit's fucking scary. Who cares about you having the lead role?
We should go. We
need to leave. Let's just go. Let's just leave. Buddy and Camilla does. She's like, yes, let's go. Let's get out of here. And she's like, I'm going to go talk to Meatloaf. I love the
memory of my mom, but I love living more.
and Camilla's like, I'm going to go talk to Meatloaf. And Meatloaf...
Fatal decision.
Meatloaf has his office surrounded by kids that are scared. They want to call their parents. They want to know what's going to happen. The authorities have not been notified.
No. We have not called the sheriff or anything to say, yeah, someone got murdered. Like,
we don't even know what happened to Artie's body.
No.
It's just around somewhere.
Maybe.
Who had to clean that up? Okay, well, probably the creepy janitor had to clean it up. But still, there was probably a lot of blood. Meatloaf tells Camilla, the starring role is yours. Victor Brady is going to be at the show. This is your big break. This is our big break. You don't have to... You literally have to only do this one night. One night. That's it. And then we're done. We're out of here. We go our separate ways. You get famous. Everything's perfect. You get your dream. And she's just like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, there is the implication that this Broadway scout is coming because, this is the daughter of the woman who... In a very funny line, just because of how stupid it is, says the show probably would have run longer if she hadn't been murdered. And it's like...
that's true.
Yeah, bud.
So
I think it would.
True. Jesus Christ.
But he wants to see that, this is the daughter of the woman who, like, played this role and was spectacular in it, so she'll probably do good too. Let's see how this goes. And that's why he's willing to go, and why Meatloaf says, hey, you're gonna be our leading lady. Who cares about that other girl? Like, she doesn't matter. So look what happens, kids. Don't sleep with your producer or director to get the role.
God,
and not. Just wait for the other wait for them to get murdered if they're trying to, and you'll get the part.
Yeah, that's easy. And so, in a big musical number, Roger convinces every kid at this, every scared and afraid kid who have been lied to about what really happened there, because I believe Roger tells them that Artie died by car accident.
He just says it was an accident. He doesn't go into any specifics of what happened or why. He just says Artie was in an accident and died.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Meatloaf sings his heart out here, and he does it. He convinces all of these kids that, yeah, the show must go on one night. Holy shit, y'all.
Yeah.
Have some awareness for what you are in.
They are very small children on one hand, but even the ones who aren't are essentially led to believe, well, if we don't do this performance, the camp is going to close. And if the camp closes, we're all going to have to go back to terrible bullying lives that we're stuck in and being made fun of for being who we are and stuff like that. Would this be enough to get you past the threat of murder? It shouldn't. Like, absolutely not. But
if I was at a summer camp,
mm-hmm.
and someone got murdered in such a way as Artie did,
yeah,
that's it. I don't care if I have to walk home. I'm going. I'll hotwire the bus.
You wake up to find the equivalent of that one Jason kill where he just beats someone to death against a tree inside their own sleeping bag.
God, such a funny scene. Oh my God.
You wake up to the next day to find out that has happened to someone.
I'm gone.
Yeah. Like, the camp counselor's like, but hey, if you go home now, like, what are you going to do for the rest of the summer? Like, you're going to get made fun of. You're not going to have as good of a time as you've been having. I'd be dead if I stayed.
I'm going to go home and watch Friends. I don't know.
Just not be here getting killed. But this is a cult. This is a cult
and
for children.
And so they do a big, everyone joins in, the entire ensemble. They sing and dance how this is it. They're going to keep the show going. And meanwhile, the metal killer is like, fuck you guys.
Yeah.
I hate you. Die, die, die.
More murder. Bark, bark, bite, chomp, kill.
Oh, buddy. That night.
It's opening night.
It is opening night. And Joel, bless his non-character, is very much so the kind of person that is like, Camilla, someone just got murdered. And the murderer is still there. The murderer didn't just disappear.
And the murderer is probably connected to you, is a bit of a stretch, but he does drop that for some reason.
It would make more sense. It would make more sense if it was connected to her, if the killer had just used a knife like it did with her mom. Yeah. But this is like, mother. With Camilla's mother. But
if they had killed Liz before this,
I think that would have been
then yes.
Artie did deserve to die there, but I think that would have
100%.
been like imagine instead Liz died in a dress, like after a dress rehearsal, still in costume.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that would have been like in the exact same way that the mom died or something like that. Like in the dressing room, and then Camilla finds it. That would be like, oh, this is connected. Like, oh, this is a message.
Yeah.
Me a message or something like that. Like, I need that. That would make her leave.
This is for you.
But otherwise I wouldn't, I don't know. It just seems like a weird coincidence. Like, yes, it is. What are the chances that two different performances of The Haunting of the Opera just so happen to have a murder happen where the murderer, well, no one even knows that the metal killer looks the way they do.
No one knows who the Metal Killer is or who they're traipsing around dressed as the
Technically,
opera
no one would have
ghost.
even known that the opera ghost from the original Kylie killing was the opera ghost. They probably would have just stumbled on the body. Like, they wouldn't have known.
The news report would have just probably said she was found murdered
in her dressing room. We don't know how or why.
Which is also funny when there is a part where someone says that, "Oh, I hear that the show is cursed." It went one time.
Like, did other people make more...
Maybe?
Like, productions? We never get told that.
Yeah.
Like, you'd have to...
It's like...
That's like where you would include, like, newspaper clippings of, like, other shows.
Yes.
Where this exact thing happened, but that wouldn't make sense.
Like, if people are getting regularly murdered in this show, then yes, the show is cursed. But if one performance 10 years ago led to the lead actress being murdered and nothing else ever happened to anyone else, no, that's not a curse. That's just someone hated this woman. Period.
Hated her so much.
Just had to kill her.
But yeah, we are at opening night, and Joel's warnings fall on deaf ears, and he just sort of stalks away. We get more or less reintroduced to a few of the side characters. Of course, there's Sam, who is still playing the opera ghost. There is, I believe, Whitney is the vocal girl. She does the...
Yeah. She does the Ryan and Sharpay vocal trills.
And in the most obvious foreshadow / setup for a future kill, she brings Camilla into like a separate room where there's a shower and turns on the hot water and says, "Oh yeah, sometimes you just have to go in here during break and just like let your lungs clear. Like the steam really helps for your performance." And the other character we have is like, I believe her name is Sheila, and I think she is the like makeup director. She's like this long-haired, undercut on the side, like goth-ish punk girl.
It's like half a bob and then half just
It looks pretty bad, actually. But I mean, she is like young, like she doesn't really know. Like she has time to... Well, I guess she doesn't have time. Because, as the show goes on, it initially starts off fine.
As fine as a kabuki rendition of
from here on out,
Phantom
for the rest of the movie,
white people.
Camilla is wearing white face paint with like red over the eyes, and is also wearing like a traditional, isn't like a traditional Japanese kimono type wardrobe.
She starts out in like village wear, I would say, like a village person kind of wear, from like traditional Japanese time.
A Japanese woman named Sophia.
And then she does move into like, this like geisha-esque kind of thing. Or when people say, like, oh, sexy geisha look, is like, that's what they did. Like, it's this silken, kind of, like, revealing, low-cut, like, there's area in the front for her legs to kind of move around and stuff like that. So it's like the sexy Japanese lady look for a white girl.
And everyone's dressed up similarly. The producer, Victor Brady, does show up, and everything seems to be going great. After one of the scenes, Sam, who we had a minor character arc for where he realized he's gay, kisses the gay stage manager.
In that way.
And then immediately goes backstage for his quick change, where he discovers the makeup girl, Sheila's body, where she has been pinheaded. Her face has been nailed through at least 30 times in various locations. We don't. I think the biggest letdown is we don't get to see this kill. We don't get to see her kill. Her body's just found lying like in the wardrobe, like with all the clothes. Yeah, it is a very disappointing thing, because I think seeing that kill would have brought my opinion up of this movie a little bit. Otherwise, instead, we get to watch the metal killer come up onto Sam and instead attack him.
Yeah, he gets just
that's it. He doesn't
stabbed.
even get like interesting stabbed. He
and
just
that's
gets
kind of
like
it.
Choked and then just like stabbed through the heart, and he's dead.
Yeah.
There goes a gay character.
Rip to you, newfound.
That's what happens when you come out
king.
as gay, kids. You get stabbed.
Yeah. There should also be a note. Liz decides to try and carry Camilla as revenge.
Carrie as in Carrie, the Stephen King novel / movie.
Yeah. Yes, Carrie the psychic girl who got blood dumped on her, not Carrie from Sex and the City. She decides to try and do the blood on her in the middle of the show. However, the opera ghost
we see the metal killer grab her from up above the stage, and set up.
Yeah,
we get another sort of Chekhov's gun here, where we do have this bucket full of red paint just chilling up in the rafters for a bit. We'll get back to that later.
Mm-hmm.
But Liz gets grabbed. Sam and Sheila are dead. And then we get a random kill. We get Whitney, the vocal girl, also
Whitney
just gets killed. She goes into the dressing room where the shower is. She has the water running. And then she just gets, like, her head beat in. She just gets, like, sort of scalped or something.
Something like that.
Like, she gets, like, drowned and, like, steamed out. Or, like, the hot water gets on her and stuff like that. And I don't know. My critique is starting to come through in that this movie did not lean hard enough in either direction of its genres.
No.
And in the horror aspect, it sort of just pulls its punches. Like, the killing with Kylie early on, cool. Yeah. She got stabbed a lot. The final kill with the knife in the mouth, that's pretty fun. Artie's kill is pretty fun. Of hook through foot, tear off foot, fingers severed and trunk. Fellatio that light, get electrocuted. Good job.
Mm-hmm.
These next 3 kills are just boring. Sam gets stabbed. We don't even get to see Sheila die. Whitney almost gets all killed off screen.
There's the other side to this is also this strange thing of what is this killer committed to?
This killer hates theater, so he's killing the people in the show. But why?
He kills an ensemble member.
Yes.
And a makeup cast.
Yeah, and a makeup person.
And a crew person.
Yeah,
like this is just all over the place. There's no commitment to, like, who is it that you're trying to take out?
What is the MO?
Yeah, there's nothing really here as to, like, are you trying to make this as a representation of you want to stop the show, so that's why you killed the director? That would make some sense. But then it would be like, yeah, go for the main cast members, not just, like, the makeup designer or someone in the choir.
But this might also be just, like, happenstance. But
yeah,
he's not even doing it in a way that's meant to, like, be seen.
It's not theater.
But
it's not
dramatic. It's not dramatic. It's not meant to, like, be discovered, because only one person ever discovers the bodies. Like, Camilla is the only one that stumbles upon everything. None of these bodies are, like, there's no dramatic body gets dropped onto the stage in the middle of the performance for everyone to see. There's no, like,
even Riverdale.
I was about to reference Riverdale. I was straight up about to reference the Carrie the Musical episode, where one of the longtime side characters gets, like, spoilers for Riverdale. We did this in the previous episode, but it always goes back to this. One of the, like, long-term side characters gets, like, killed and then, like, tied up or, like, stapled or something to the backdrop of this, like, stage production, and is revealed to an entire audience of people. But that doesn't happen here.
That's metal.
The metal killer's very all over the place with what he wants.
The metal killer has a little bit of metal music that he does, but otherwise is not very metal.
He's kind of lame. I don't know. I think the killer in this is just like, he's got no pizzazz, and I get his whole thing is that he doesn't want to, like, he hates what is happening here. He hates, like, the musical theater, and maybe he hates the dramatics, but he is a dramatic person. You are also doing this stuff to be dramatic. So if you're gonna go like a little bit, you might as well go all the way. I don't know. Jason but would be
our killer
would be all about the show. Jason would have tied these kids up to trees or something, or put their heads, or like cut their heads off.
Yeah,
like had them displayed. I don't know.
Like put it in someone's dresser where he knows they're gonna open it. Yeah, shit like that. Which, why would he do that?
He just likes to
There's
have
no
fun.
Reason, but it's just for it's just for the show. But our killer, however, does decide to go for Meatloaf.
Meatloaf sees a door open. Like he like hears like an exit door open that he's standing out near. Goes to investigate, immediately gets clubbed and knocked out, and is dragged back to the kitchen of the main mess hall. Camilla, meanwhile, has discovered all the bodies. She's the only one who comes across the bodies. She stumbles on to Sam. She sees Whitney. She runs to the dressing room. She sees Sam and then Sheila. Then she stumbles upon Whitney. She runs out of the entire theater in fear, and also happens to run to the mess hall. And before we get to that, it is very important to say that while all of this is happening, the show must indeed go on in the worst way possible. David, the gay guy...
We've lost...
David, the gay guy, has been panicking. No one is responding. And finally, pushed onto the stage is someone wearing the Phantom outfit, just sort of twirling and stumbling over the stage, flailing about. And David's just like, give me a beat. Like, put on some music, do anything. And music start, and so the what is it? What are the musicians in a production called? The orchestra.
The orchestra?
The orchestra starts playing some improv, and the audience just eats it up. It's all funny, haha.
They kind of just
even David himself ends up on stage and is dancing with the figure in the opera ghost costume, and this hits me in my high school putting on a theater production. Something goes wrong, and so you have to roll with it. It is just hitting me in all of my deepest cringe parts of my brain that I could not look at the screen. Straight up, it was like nails on a chalkboard for me. Like, this is my worst nightmare. As someone who has done theater in the past, I could not imagine being in this situation. I would have died. So while everything we are about to say that happens with Camilla and the Metal Killer and Meatloaf, that's also happening in the background for who knows how long. At least like 20 minutes.
Yeah, they just going. Yeah.
Back in the kitchen, Meatloaf has been tied to a chair, and the Metal Killer, dun dun dun, has been revealed to be not Joel, but Buddy. Whoa, the only other character that this possibly could have been turned out to be the killer. Wow.
As the point that I brought up when we were watching this last night was, usually in a slasher movie that is also a murder mystery at the end of the day, Agatha Christie, eat your heart out, they do fake out, like, very obviously, like, okay, who's the killer? Who are we going to put suspicion on? And there's the janitor, who is just in, like, a couple scenes looking creepy, but doesn't do anything else.
He's just menacing and silent.
Yeah. There's Joel, who is weirdly obsessed with Camilla and wants her to leave and not be a part of this performance. So you could have something going there of, I'm gonna kill the director, get her to leave. Oh, she didn't leave. Who else do I have to kill to get her out of here? And that would be a good MO for the killer, just in general.
But if it was Joel, then going back to, like, then Liz should have also been a murder victim. Like that.
Liz
that
should have been offed earlier.
Like that would have been a better setup for but Joel being hinted at the killer.
Also just never shows up otherwise.
Joel has not been on screen since the production started, after he had his warning, and he doesn't show up until later, till the last basically 15 minutes of the movie.
Yeah. So Joel just doesn't have any presence, which you could say, oh, well, if he's not there, then he must be the killer. But
we're forgetting that the only other character who has less of a presence than him is Camilla's twin brother, Buddy.
Yeah, is Buddy, who just isn't there even more.
It's just, I don't know. It feels like a missed opportunity for these characters. Because Buddy's character is only ever seen disparaging the theater stuff. We know he doesn't like it. And so that's it. Like, if your two hints at who the killer is are Joel or Buddy, well, you're making Joel too obvious, so obviously it's going to be Buddy. Mm-hmm. Literally no one else would fit this role. We know it can't be Meatloaf. We know it can't be any of the other characters, because one, we're never given a reason, or we're not even given characters for them. The only other side character who has any personality is the gay guy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's just a very weak reveal. I wish there would have been, like, maybe some more gesturing or mystery to it all, but shrug, it is what it is.
Yeah. It again goes back to this movie does not commit to being a musical or a slasher horror film. It's a funny little mix of both of them, but it's just, like, lukewarm at best for that. But Buddy is our killer. Buddy is the metal killer who drops the reveal that the one who killed their mother all those years ago was Meatloaf.
Meatloaf did it.
There is a thing, essentially, of Buddy is revealed to have been hiding in their mother's dressing room for some reason?
Just sort of standing in the corner by the clothes while his mother was, like, undressing and then getting felt up. Like, she didn't know he was there. Like,
yeah.
I don't know how she, like, lost track of him, but he was in the dressing room the entire time. Yes. And we get the other reveal of sort of that there was sort of an unreliable narrator with Camilla's dream in the beginning.
Yes.
Because the events do happen in the same way. Meatloaf comes in and tells Kylie that they love you. In particular, a man by the name of Lawrence loves her. Mm-hmm. And we get the reveal that Kylie, who was hinted at being in a romantic relationship of sorts with Meatloaf, has been cheating on him with some other man by the name of Lawrence, and he has found out. And though she tried to tell him it's fine, don't worry about it, obviously Meatloaf took it the wrong way. It was
not fine.
And so we know that he was the opera ghost of the past. He is the one who stabbed Camilla so many times. And Buddy was in the room the entire time. He saw it all happen. And Meatloaf knew. Meatloaf sees him. The kid doesn't even try to run. He just stands there in fear. And I get it. Like, that's watching your mom die in front of you like that. Very scary. I don't blame you, kid.
Yeah.
And so Meatloaf just, like, takes young Buddy as, like, shaking him as, like, you didn't see anything. We're going to clean this up. Everything's going to be fine. Like, slaps him a few times.
Yeah, like, you're gonna get it if you tell anyone, kid.
I'm your dad now.
Oh?
It's like, what? I get being, he was very young when this happened. But I don't know.
It does feel like that.
It's very paper thin.
Yes, you took 10 years to suddenly decide to do this now. To not just kill the person who killed your mother, but also just cause, like, general murder and mayhem at your camp. And, yeah, again, you could say, oh, I murdered Artie because he was trying to sleep with my sister against her will. That's fair. That's fine. But after that, why were you just killing all these other people who were no threat or anything to your sister? And also, why just tell her to leave? Were you gonna come back and kill Meatloaf? Or were you just gonna just leave?
Just dip? Like, leave Meatloaf to, like, have this? Like... It's where Buddy's character just takes a pivot. Because before he was just sort of like a disaffected youth. Now he's, like, Joker-fied.
Yeah.
He's
has got, the crazy this, eyes and attitude to
this
him.
This maniacal, like, laughter, like this, like, overzealous gestures, and just he's just all over the place. He's still like threatening Meatloaf with a knife and vaguely threatening Camilla with it while she's trying to calm him down. And she's like almost like Meatloaf is like trying to tell her like, no, he's lying, don't believe him. But like she's obviously trusting her brother. And again, it's like there's some missteps here where we have to have this still be a very cut and dry horror movie, so it does not go the way we want it to, where it subverts things a little bit. But like there could have been a thing here where like Camilla is like, oh yeah, fuck this guy, let's get him, let's kill this dude, and then let's run, let's take the money and run.
Like, if that's the case, if this is what you know the problem is, then do something about it.
Like, no one knows you're the killer.
Yeah.
Like, I could just disappear. No one will know where we go. As far as anyone else cares, we're just orphans that'll go off the grid.
Yeah.
But Camilla has, like, this obvious, like, I get it. She's still a good person at the end of the day, but, like, she has this, like, morality to her that's like, buddy, no, you can't kill him. It's like,
no.
Girl, he's already killed 4 people.
Yeah, there's not any coming back from this.
You might as well let him make it 5. At least this way you get the one that killed your mom.
Yeah.
But no. Instead, Meatloaf gets out of his bindings. Yeah. Get a weird, like, small fight scene in here, which ultimately ends with one, Camilla has or had a knife that was initially the one Buddy used. And while Buddy has his back turned to Meatloaf and is talking to Camilla, Meatloaf grabs a kitchen knife and stabs Buddy, and then proceeds to do what he did to his mom to him.
Just going
stabbing and stabbing, and Camilla's just standing there yelling about Buddy. It's like, girl, either run or, I don't know, start stabbing Meatloaf.
Hit him with a pan, something, anything. No.
It's messy.
Yeah. So she decides, I gotta go.
It just
I'm gonna
It's just like, we have to have the final girl run away from the actual big bad of the movie after it's revealed that, oh, Meatloaf is here. And so Camilla takes off into the woods for some reason. Like, I get where she makes her way back to the main theater house where the play is being put on. But we see her, like, take off through the woods for some reason instead of just, like, maybe taking a more direct path to where the people are. And even when she gets there backstage instead of just, like, the front entrance where the people are. Like, girl, you're, like, covered in some blood. You could probably get people's attention and be like, hey, there's some murders that have happened.
There's a man.
People are dead here.
Trying to kill me.
Meatloaf is trying to kill me. And Meatloaf confronts Camilla in the backstage of the theater house. And we also have to bring it up that Joel is around because he comes back into the scene. Because he discovers what happened to Artie's body just being left in a garbage disposal somewhere.
Yeah, They just tossed him in a dumpster, essentially.
That's all Joel does. He discovers Artie's body and then shows up later again.
He disappears again.
It's a really weekend. It's just, I don't know, it's a weak ending.
Horror tends to be hard to end properly, but for a movie that is admittedly... I will still say, this movie has funny moments with the songs, with the kills. There is entertainment in this movie. It is still mediocre. And horror being, like I said, hard to end well, on top of that, like, just being okay for the writing and what the commitment was to this, makes it even more not great. Because Camilla's just backstage as Meatloaf's trying to come and kill her, because he wants to do that now.
I guess he wants to clear up all the loose ends, even though he's now got a bunch of dead kids where he will obviously be implicated in the murder here.
You're going to be blamed for this.
Like, maybe you could blame Buddy because he's still dressed as the opera ghost, as the metal killer, and he could probably...
But also no one's
seen him. No one knows who this kid is.
Yeah. No.
And at the end of the day, like, Meatloaf is the one who is now covered in blood. It has his hands on a few murder weapons, but Meatloaf corners Camilla in the backstage, and Camilla grabs a buzzsaw, which we previously saw, and holds it up to, like, Meatloaf's stomach, and Meatloaf's like, "You can't do that. You won't do it." And she pulls the trigger, and nothing happens because the buzzsaw isn't plugged in, because that's safety. That's good safety.
Yeah.
And Meatloaf is like, "I have the upper hand now, ha 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 ha." And then Joel shows up again. Joel is like stumbled on the scene. He's like, "Shh," and quietly plugs in the fucking buzzsaw, and Camilla lets her rip. Fucking
she murders
just
that man.
Guts this dude. Oh man, Meatloaf, you got a pretty cool kill. Again, they could have also gone further with this one. You do see a little bit of like Meatloaf's intestines hanging out.
She kind of like it's like she puts the buzzsaw in him, and then it's just going while in him, and he just falls down with it still like inside him and going.
In this final kill, she has blood on her hands now. Finally puts her into like this dazed state where she runs and stumbles covered in blood. Her costume is torn. She still has her face makeup on, but even that's runny because she's been crying and sweating and everything. And she stumbles out onto the main stage where she finds the person who was tied up as the Phantom, revealed to be Liz, covered in paint because the bucket fell on her.
Yeah. Wait, who also... Liz was our tied up Phantom.
Liz was tied up as the Phantom. It gets terribly reintroduced.
Yeah, she's stuck she is unmasked, and David is like, "Oh, well, Camilla's not here. You go do the part."
David's like, "This is already a joke. Everything's ruined. My entire show. Whatever."
Decides to back her up / try to one-up her. And as the two of them are trying to essentially sing the final number together, is when Liz gets carried, and then Camilla shows up in her panic.
In a recreation of the exact scene from the beginning of the movie where Camilla's mom, as Sophia, was cradling a dying Alfonso's body, we have Camilla cradling the Phantom Liz's body and having this like dead, like not even dead, it's like this panicked, like catatonic stare into the audience. Like her eyes are like twitching and she's just like trying to come to grips with what she's done, with what she's seen, with everything that has happened in the last 10 minutes of her life. And the audience is eating it up. They're like, this was high art.
Yeah.
We didn't understand until just now. There's a standing ovation. The producer, Victor Brady, in the audience is like this like smile on his face because he sees what he wants.
And what he wants is Camilla.
And then we get another time skip. We get a time skip to a year later, and wouldn't you know it, Victor Brady is putting on Haunting of the Opera. It's opening night, and Camilla is finally there. She has gotten a beautiful haircut. She is in this red gown, this red dress, and we get a really weird implication that the cycle has repeated, that Camilla has taken her mother's role in many different ways, and that Victor Brady and her are now potentially lovers, or they have a very hinted at close, probably romantic relationship going on, which Camilla is very understandably seen as a little uncomfortable, but as we saw in previous parts of the movie, she's willing to do whatever it takes, for the most part, to get the role she wants. And at this point in her life, her brother's dead, her foster father's dead, her foster father killed her mom, she killed her foster father, the camp's probably closed now, she had nothing else in life other than to take this opportunity from Victor Brady. It's trash. It is tragic. Like, it is a very tragic, like, character moment for her, where
and it just kind of
ends. It is that thing of you have gotten everything you have ever wanted. Like, there's been a reoccurring line in Sophia's song, one of Sophia's songs, of "This is all I have ever wanted." And we finally have that for her. She has finally gotten exactly what she has dreamed of having. But she is still very traumatized by her past. She is definitely not let go.
Yeah.
As we get one final jump scare of the killer breaking through the dressing room mirror. And this is revealed to just be a hallucination on Camilla's part. Nothing's wrong. But she's obviously got some very deep-seated issues that she is not, and maybe will never work out.
Yeah. And then Joel is not here.
Joel's not there. No, Joel doesn't matter. Joel is not a character.
Just gone after all of that. You helped the girl that you liked kill the man who killed her family. And he's gone. He just disappears after that.
We started this recording out by saying, like, we were really into this movie. And it is I do not want my criticisms to be seen as me disliking it. I still think this movie is really fun.
I don't dislike this movie. It is not bad. It is entertaining, but it is not necessarily a good movie.
It is very good B-movie horror.
It's okay.
Of sorts.
It's okay. Yeah.
It's schlocky. It's meant to be. It definitely hits all of its notes really well. Mm-hmm. I think its major issues come up of, as we've said a few times now, it does not want to lean hard enough into either side. The musicals aspect of the movie more or less gets dropped. Like, we have a few songs here and there, and then we have, like, the diegetic music of, like, the songs being sung in universe for the in-universe musical being performed. Mm-hmm. The final song is, like, performed by the metal killer, like, as he's taunting Meatloaf. And that's it. We don't really get anything.
He gives a reprise of some of the other numbers and then makes fun of some other various things from the movie.
I think one of the things I wish that there would have been was, like, I wish we would have gotten a duet from Camilla and Meatloaf in that final confrontation.
Yes.
I wish they would have, like, done something there to, like, have the kill be done in musical form. That way you merge the horror and, like, the kills with the musical aspect. In most situations, we never even got, like, Meatloaf alone singing. Like, he had one slight musical number to himself, but we don't really get much in the way of, like, character interactions through the music. More so just ensemble pieces.
People do songs in this movie that feel like they're just doing a song. and it is not progressing the story or like giving us a lot outside of that. The best would be the welcome to center stage, just when everyone's singing about arriving to the camp, where it's like, let's learn about characters, why are we here, this is our point, like, that makes sense. But everything else is just kind of singing songs from the musical. Maybe there's a little bit of like soliloquizing from some of the characters, but nothing else really happens with the songs. Even the Metal Killer's limited numbers about just wanting to murk these kids, essentially, are very, like I said, just limited to that. They don't really go anywhere.
They kind of fall flat.
Too much.
I mean, I think the best song in the movie is in the credits, where the Metal Killer performs a full song just as the credits roll. And that kind of sucks, like, that we have to wait till the ending, like, the literal credits of the movie to have, like, a really good song. I don't know, like, and that's just, like, the musical aspect. And the horror aspect, I wish the kills would have been more interesting. I wish we would have, like, had more rhyme or reason to some of them.
Yes. I wanted more of this kind of creeping thing of, you have the implication of this killer who is either living under one of the buildings and watching the kids, or more interaction with behind the stage, kind of hiding about, tracking people, stuff like that. But he just shows up to do a kill, disappears. That's about it. Like, there's no really that dread or even dramatic irony that, like, the killer is killing.
He's no
people.
Michael.
Like, yeah, because no, we don't know that Sheila got killed, so it's a surprise when we find her for both the audience and the character, but it's also just kind of like, okay, we didn't have any build-up.
Like, this character might have had, like, 5 lines of dialogue up to this point.
I don't even think she had any
I think
dialogue.
she, like, said,
like,
something, but I don't think... Like,
maybe.
It's same with Whitney.
Yeah.
Like, she has her one scene where she really talks is the scene where she's, like, telling Camilla about, like, vocal, like, come into this... She's pretty much setting up her own future kill by telling her, hey, come into this room later to, like, have, like, a relaxation break if you need it. Like, like, that's it. That you're like, these characters set up their own kill, or these two girls set up their own kills because Sheila gets pinheaded, and she was the one who was seen putting pins in the mannequin head earlier in the movie. And then we get Whitney, who sets up her own kill as well with the steam room. It's like, I get that's fun, but why were these characters killed? I feel like David would have been more interesting. Again, Liz survives the movie.
Oh, 100%.
Like, I'm not saying I want the gay guy to die. I mean, you killed one of them, but shrug. He wasn't interesting anyways.
And Liz dying would have also made sense in just no matter what aspect you're coming at.
Why doesn't he kill her? Like, he grabs her from the rafters.
He just ties her up and stops her from doing her revenge thing.
I feel like a good, really dramatic thing would have been like, oh yeah, he kills her up there and then, like, dangles her body from upstage. Like, he uses the rope bucket or something to, like, dangle her.
If it is, I don't want the show to go on, I'm gonna kill our leading lady, technically, or one of the options for that kind of thing. That would make sense. Why would we do the show without her?
And if you want to protect your sister, you would kill her rival.
Yeah, like, there is no reason to not kill her, but he doesn't. So it's like, but you're gonna off the makeup girl and a choir member. Like, why? Why, buddy?
I mean, they don't kill any kids, and I mean, that's fair, but...
No, they don't kill any children. They only kill people who are
18 years of older,
realistically
probably.
18 plus looking. Yeah.
I don't know. That's my biggest issues with it, I think, is just like, it...
Yeah.
I wish it would have... I felt it could have been more subtle or, like, well thought out, especially with how it is trying to play in this, like, satirical space. But it is a solid popcorn movie.
Yeah.
And we are running pretty late.
we've had worse.
Do you have any final thoughts on this? I mean, I think mine are just that I like the movie. I think this movie was really fun. I think this movie had a lot to laugh at, and I extremely enjoyed Meatloaf in his role. I think the leading actress playing Camilla was really good. While I do not care much for Camilla herself, I do feel bad for her by the end of the movie, and I do think she was performed really well. Other characters, they're all right. They're standard fare. But I think Camilla and Meatloaf's characters were like the standout for sure. Mm-hmm. Besides that, I mean, okay horror movie. It's not going to give me any nightmares, you know? I'm not going to be afraid of the theater more than I already am.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, again, I am glad that this movie was better than I don't want to say better than I remembered, but that it was still entertaining as I remember it being, because I did like this movie when I watched it for the first time, and I'm like, hey, this still wasn't bad, and that's okay. So I'm glad that I could still enjoy this movie, and that it was enough to, talk about and have fill in for our holiday spectaculars that we do.
And that brings us to an end of summer. It looks like my summer vacation is over. Man, what are we gonna do now? What comes next?
A lot of pumpkins.
You mean it's
gonna be fall?
It's Pumpkin Jack? We're not doing that one. We're not doing that one.
No. Sorry, y'all.
Yeah, I mean, September's another weird month. There's not really anything going on holiday-wise in September, so we're sort of playing it by ear. We're gonna sort of call it the beginning of fall and try to find, like... I have an idea of what I think is a decent fall-themed media to consume, but we'll discuss it. We'll figure something out. We're still gonna be on our only 2 for the month episode schedule, so the next episode will come out on September 11th. Oh my god, really? Hold on, I gotta actually whoops, I did double check that just now, but it did not hit me until just saying it out loud. Yes, September 11th. So enjoy the next episode on 9/11. Maybe we should do a 9/11 episode. Do you want to watch a movie with God, what's his name? You want to watch Remember Me? With Robert Pattinson?
Oh, well.
Do you know that movie?
Robert Pattinson. I don't think I do.
Can I spoil it for you?
100%, yes.
Awesome. Hey, spoilers for the movie Remember Me starring Robert Pattinson. I don't think they hint at this much in the movie, but it's pretty much a big love romance story. And the final twist reveal is Robert Pattinson works in the Twin Towers on the day that 9/11 happens. And that's how the movie ends, where Robert Pattinson's character dies in 9/11?
That is fucking hilarious. Oh my god.
It's either that he worked.
Yeah, I looked it up. His dad worked in the Twin Towers, and he was visiting his dad.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
And that was the first movie that was the first 9/11 movie I could think of when thinking about doing an episode for 9/11. Anyways, we gotta stop talking about 9/11.
It just keeps happening.
Look, it's fate. Well, join us on 9/11 for whatever media we decide to talk about on the next episode of Holidaze. Thank you all for listening. Remember to be careful when you go to the theater, because there might just be a man waiting to stab you.
Yeah. Fun times.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Stay frosty.